The 8,690th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question. I thank the Special Coordinator for his briefing. I now give the floor to Mrs. Raemer. Mrs. Raemer, please press the sound.
Your mic.
There you go.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Are we good with the sound now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Madam President, thank you so much for inviting me to address the Security Council today. It is an incredible honor. And while I speak to you representing the residents of the Eshkol region in Israel, along the frontier with Gaza, my views and opinions are my own and reflect my personal experiences living in Kibbutz Nirim on the border with the Gaza Strip since 1975. Have you ever had to run for your life, literally? When I hear the red alert early warning system for incoming rockets, I know that I have between 5 to 10 seconds to get to someplace safe, regardless of where I am in my little kibbutz house. For my kitchen, I can sprint to the safe room in about 3 seconds. If it catches me in the shower, I'm out of luck. There's no way I can jump out and make it to the safe room before impact without slipping. If I'm out walking my dogs, I either throw myself down next to the wall or just lie down wherever I am and cover my head and hope that whatever falls doesn't fall too close. Until 2 years ago, we didn't have Iron Dome to protect us. Now we do, but that brings its own dangers of deadly falling debris when it makes impact with the rocket. Every siren means that something, be it rocket impact or an intercept, will explode nearby. And during the 11 rounds of escalated rocket fire that we've had in the past year and a half, there were numerous alerts every single day. 1,800 rockets were launched at our communities in the Eshkol region alone during this period. 1,800. What would any of you do if this number of projectiles was launched over your border? On August 26, 2014, on what was to become the final morning of the last major operation, Protective Edge, my bedroom was invaded by deadly shrapnel from a mortar that exploded just outside and ripped through the walls. The electricity of our entire community was knocked out in that same barrage that could have killed me had I been in my bedroom rather than in my safe room. And here I am, 5.5 years after that bloody summer, speaking to this great international body, and nothing has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. My community was a paradise for raising children when mine were growing up, but today, as my 2 little granddaughters romp on our lawns, I do not have the same sense of security for them that I had when I was raising my children. Just last week, I stood with Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Dani Danon, and possibly others of you in attendance here today, in the bowels of a now neutralized terror tunnel, a mere 5 minutes jog from my house. It is sinister and frightening, built with a complex infrastructure for communications and electricity that was developed solely for the purposes of death. Can you imagine how our children feel when they know that terrorists could come bursting through a tunnel under our community at any time? Thanks to technology, that threat will soon be eliminated. But there are other threats that throw a shadow over our lives here in what we like to refer to as 95% paradise and 5% hell. Madam President, within the past 2 years, Hamas has been organizing weekly riots along the border every Friday after their prayers. The Great March of Return is, in fact, weekly, violent riots, throwing Molotov cocktails, grenades, vandalizing our border fence, and attempted infiltrations, which often spiral into retaliatory rocket fire after someone is killed from among the rioters. Each Friday, rather than welcoming in the peaceful Sabbath, as most of the Jewish world does, we on the border brace ourselves for possible escalation of violence and rocket fire. In fact, we never know when we will wake up to find our lives put on pause, roads and schools closed a day or two or possibly longer due to rocket and mortar fire. Just last night, the people in my community were on alert as the IDF killed another armed terrorist attempting to cut through the border fence and infiltrate into Israel through our fields, as just mentioned by Special Coordinator Nikolai Maldanov. During the past 2 years, we've also had to live with a new threat. Balloons, kites, and drones that have brought over flaming coals and incendiary explosives that detonate overhead or ignite our crops, burning down 35 square kilometers of agriculture, forests, and nature reserves. That's comparable to just over half the island of Manhattan. They've sent over balloons attached to explosive booby-trapped books and toys. During the past 2 years, 17 more terror tunnels have invaded our borders, been discovered, and neutralized. As a result, the rate of people seeking psychological aid in our region has risen by 231% in the past 5 years since Operation Protective Edge. Over half of those have been children. And yet, despite everything and against all odds and seeming logic, our region continues to grow and thrive. Our 95% heaven is comprised of an award-winning educational system, innovative agriculture endeavors, and beautiful expanses of desert which come alive with red poppy blooms in the late winter. All this, in addition to a strong sense of pride and community, encourages young families to come and settle here, despite the challenges. All of the residents in our region, both on the Israeli side and the Gazan side, are Hamas hostages, some even more literally than us. I'm referring to the 2 Israeli citizens being held in Gaza and the bodies of our 2 fallen soldiers, Hadar Golden and Oron Shaul. 11 times in the past 2 years, I personally have been held hostage by Hamas rockets. My life was put on hold, work routines and plans canceled. Hamas and Hamas alone decides when there will be a ceasefire. Hamas, even today, chooses to construct terror tunnels rather than buildings to house their people or factories to generate industry. They keep their population poor and unemployed by funneling funds from the international community into their own pockets, rather than to those for whom the aid was intended, their citizens. Luckily for me, Israel builds safe rooms to protect her citizens. Every home within 7 kilometers of the border has a reinforced rocket-proof safe room built on it, paid for by the government of Israel. Hamas, on the other hand, builds safe rooms to protect their weapons. Hamas brings Gazans, women and children included, to the border, to the border riots to lose limb or life. Hamas aims its rockets at Israeli civilian communities, including my own, from within schools and mosques and homes, knowing full well that the IDF are reluctant to retaliate. There are innocent civilians nearby who could be harmed. I know that not all Gazans are part of Hamas. I know that most Gazans want the same things that I do: safety for their children, food on their tables, and to enable their children to have a horizon of hope. I have that horizon because I've seen it. When I came to live in my kibbutz, we used to drive to the beach or the market in Gaza, and the Gazans used to come to my area. I have that horizon because I'm personally in contact with Gazans who want to educate their children to have different hopes and realities. I have that horizon because I've spoken with Gazans and worked with them recently on educational projects for which they risk their lives. I've even had a chance to hug a Gazan woman who lives just on the other side of our border from my home just a couple of weeks ago, right here in Tel Aviv, while taking part in the Women's Leadership Program run by the Geneva Initiative. It's only a fence that divides us, really. We all know that Gaza and the Western Negev mirror each other with the same climate and flora. A border fence can keep people in or out, but it cannot stop the pollution, which, due to the crumbling sewage system in Gaza, caused by the conflicts of recent years and Hamas's lack of prioritizing civilian infrastructure, threatens the underwater aquifers that supply water to both sides of the border. In preparation for this talk, I spoke with our mayor, Mr. Gadi Yarkoni, who lost both legs in one of the rocket attacks in the last day of Operation Protective Edge. Gadi said that he knows that the only solution is for us to live together. He told me that he and the other mayors of the region have extended their hands in peace, cooperation, and collaboration. I asked him, Gadi, how have we done that? That's when he told me about the plans that we have for building an electricity plant to provide electricity to Gaza with the backing of Arab and European investors. He also depicted plans that they have for collaboration to answer the needs of Gazans, a plant for treating sewage in Gaza, turning it into electricity, because Gazans do not have electricity 24/7, thanks to the infighting between Fatah and Hamas. The people of our region in Israel know that if we want our lives to be good, for our region to thrive and prosper, we need to see to it that our neighbors can thrive and prosper. Madam President, I live in the shadow of the threat of rockets and attack tunnels, and I know only too well that until the Gazans have something to live for, they will only have reasons to die for. I understand that until the unemployment level drops and the ability to put food on their table rises, our safety will remain compromised. I have no doubt that until Palestinians in Gaza are able to construct housing, they will continue to construct tunnels and rockets until they're able to raise their children in homes rather than in the rubble of the conflict. They will be raising another generation of Israel haters, and my grandbabies will not be able to play outside without their mother worrying about the eventuality of a siren blaring out. Coexistence begins with education and responsibility. I hold Hamas responsible for finding a way to stop investing in terrorism and incitement to hatred, and to start making choices that will enable the people of Gaza to thrive and prosper. I call upon my government and the leaders of the Palestinian side to get to the table and work out a long-term political agreement. I call upon the countries of the world, representatives, you, the member states of the Security Council, to compel Hamas to abandon their path of violence and empower all of the people in our region on both sides of the border with the condition to live in a way in which the human rights of all of us will truly be respected. We all need to be able to raise the next generation to respect our neighbors, not to fear them. This is clearly not a conflict that can be resolved by weapons. It can only be resolved by courageous leaders and diplomacy. I warmly invite you, Madam President, and the ambassadors in attendance today to come visit me in my 95% heaven and see for yourself. Thank you, President.
I thank Mrs. Raemer for her briefing.